From New York, in color, this is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. And Roger Mudd in Washington, Stephen Rowan in Washington, Ike Pappas in Detroit, Prescott Robinson in Miami, Jed Duval in Los Angeles, Ed Rabel in Houston, and Charles Kuralt on the road tonight in Magoffin County, Kentucky.
Good evening. After a 12th day of debate, the Senate still is groping with that tax reform bill. And the final vote, which appeared very close 2 days ago, still seems elusive. Roger Mudd reports.
In a scene that looked more like a kindergarten at times than it did the world's greatest deliberative body, the Senate today flailed and flapped at the tax bill. One amendment offered by Republican Robert Dole of Kansas, giving the oil industry an estimated $50 million tax break on drilling costs, required 7 roll calls, repeated points of order, and shouted demands for peace and quiet before the Senate could move on. Majority Leader Mansfield, with the air of a harried schoolteacher, pleaded with the presiding officer to order us senators to take our seats. The liberals did succeed in reducing the effect of the Dole amendment, but Tom McIntyre, Democrat of New Hampshire, still was prompted to observe sarcastically that after hearing about the oil industry's problems, sometimes I want to pass the hat for them. The Senate also today gave the president the authority to restrict imports which might disrupt American industries. It also eased restrictions on real estate depreciation. Republican John Williams of Delaware charged that there was a deliberate attempt to sabotage the bill, and Mansfield has now given up trying to nail down final passage tonight. Roger Mudd, CBS News, Washington.
The vice chairman of the Federal Reserve Board, J.L. Robertson, said today that present efforts to halt inflation may not be tough enough. As he put it in a speech at Culpeper, Virginia, gradualism based on the hope of easing the pain of a difficult problem only prolongs the agony. Robertson said that inflationary psychology already has become so deep-seated that painful measures are needed, but he did not elaborate. The averages were mixed on the New York Stock Exchange today. Volume was 12,600,000 shares. The New York index lost 3 cents, and the American Exchange Index was up 3 cents.
The sleep of the innocent. No problems, no aches and pains. But your world is different, and the aches and pains of the day can linger to infest the night, and you can't get the sleep you need. Reach for Anacin. Anacin tablets soothe your nighttime pains with the pain reliever doctors recommend most. Anacin gives you all the pain relief you really need to help you sleep. Anacin. All the pain relief you really need.
Watch this test. This man has a bad cold with congestion in sinuses. Breathing's blocked.
Use Dristan Nasal Mist for direct sinus congestion relief. First Dristan Mist clears nasal passages, but Dristan does more. Dristan breaks through, helps drain virus-caused congestion way up to sinuses. Now breathing is easier. For direct sinus congestion relief, Dristan Nasal Mist.
Former President Johnson, who is visiting in Washington, will return to the White House tomorrow for the first time since he left it to Richard Nixon. The two will have a breakfast session, and a spokesman indicated the talks probably will involve foreign policy. Saturday afternoon, Mr. Johnson plans to attend the wedding of his former secretary, Marie Famer, to a biology professor, Dr. Andrew Quirodo. In Washington, the House Armed Services Subcommittee today continued its investigation into the My Lai killings. Stephen Rowan reports.
The entire Armed Services Committee sat in on today's subcommittee session to hear Chief Warrant Officer Hugh Thompson's account of that day at My Lai. Thompson is the helicopter pilot who first reported that civilians had been killed. But after the closed-door session, Chairman Mendel Rivers said Thompson indicated he had not actually seen any of the killing.
He held back nothing, and from his testimony, nobody can be charged, in my opinion, with having massacred anybody.
Mr. Chairman, do you make the distinction? Not a massacre?
Not at this point. I'm still unable at this point to charge anyone with a massacre.
Captain Ernest Medina, who was to have testified today, will be heard tomorrow. This afternoon, we asked him about a Chicago Sun-Times story in which Sergeant Michael Bernhardt, who was with the captain at My Lai, contradicted Medina's version of how he killed a wounded Vietnamese woman suspected of being Viet Cong. He said Medina first wounded her with a pot shot from 100 yards away.
Well, Sergeant Bernhardt's statement is not true. I have given a true account of of what happened and how I came to kill the Vietnamese woman. I don't know why Sergeant Bernhardt is making such a statement, and he was one of the individuals that I had discipline problems with. I'm not going to go into those discipline problems at this time because I'm not the type of individual that would either defame another individual over the public news media. So I'm not going to go into that at this time.
Sergeant Bernhardt also is quoted as saying he walked through the village with you, and this is again a direct quote, "I saw a lot of bodies, at least 100. If Medina didn't see 100 bodies, he must have seen at least 50, unless he walked through with his eyes closed." What's your reaction to that statement?
Again, the statement that I made, the number of bodies that I reported of innocent civilians that were killed in the action at Marley 4 were 20 to 28. If Sergeant Bernhardt was with the command group, I do not know exactly where he was at all times. I do not know exactly what portions of the village that he went through. I do not know what Sergeant Bernhardt seen in the village. The only thing that I know is what I seen and what I have reported.
At the Pentagon, it was revealed that some members of the panel headed by Lieutenant General William Pierce will go to Vietnam, extending the scope of that investigation into what happened. General William Westmoreland, the Army Chief of Staff, promised last night in a Charlotte, North Carolina speech that the investigation will not be a cover-up.
The Army is not attempting to hide anything. We will continue to pursue our investigation and any trials that may result with diligence, thoroughness, and full respect for the due process rights of any individual.
Another former GI who says he was at My Lai when the alleged massacre took place told the Houston Chronicle today that he saw his fellow soldiers shoot down South Vietnamese civilians as they came out of their huts in the hamlet. A campaign was announced today to bring pressure on Hanoi to release U.S. prisoners of war. Senator Robert Griffin announced the campaign, being promoted by the U.S. Junior Chamber of Commerce, to have Americans send Christmas cards to Xuan Thuy, Hanoi's chief negotiator at Paris. The cards should be sent to Project Xuan Thuy, Post Office Box 2600, Washington. The UPI reported from Saigon today that American battle deaths last week dropped to the lowest total in 3 years. The official casualty figures will not be released until tomorrow, however. The Army announced today that about 30 B-52 bombers, the equivalent of 2 squadrons, will be pulled out of Vietnam by the middle of next year. That withdrawal would reduce the number of B-52s in Vietnam to 3 squadrons. Senator Barry Goldwater says that he thinks the United States should resume bombing North Vietnam as the only means of winning the war. Goldwater is touring South Vietnam, said he saw no indication that President Nixon will order the bombing resume, but he believes the president has not closed the door on that possibility. In what was perhaps his sharpest criticism to date, Senator Fulbright said today that President Nixon's Vietnamization policy amounts only to a continuing war of stalemate and attrition. In a speech at Washington University in St. Louis, Fulbright said the weakness of the administration's policy is tied to the weakness of the Saigon regime, which he said is based on rigged elections and an American-sponsored constitution.
Would you believe I found out I have iron-poor blood?
I know. I'm your iron-poor blood. Take Geritol. Geritol changes iron-poor blood into iron-rich blood.
Geritol iron enters your bloodstream fast, carrying its blood-building iron throughout your body. Just 2 Geritol tablets contain twice the iron in a pound of calf's liver.
Look, Geritol changed me from iron-poor blood to iron-rich blood.
Geritol carries blood-building iron throughout your body.
Try it.
There's something exciting about this man. She likes being near him, close as she can.
There's something about an aqua.
Whatever he does, she's willing to try. Things seem more exciting when he's close by.
There's something about an aqua.
Give Aquavelva for Christmas. Famous ice blue, cool frost lime, wild redwood, or the smart set with 4 fragrances. Make it Aquavelva for Christmas.
Attorney General Mitchell said today that the mafia has gained control of a large group of Internal Revenue Service employees in one state. He did not name the state, but CBS News has learned that it is New Jersey, particularly Newark, where the mayor and several other officials have been subpoenaed by a grand jury. Mayor Hugh Adonisio pleaded the Fifth Amendment in that investigation. Mitchell, in a speech at Boca Raton, Florida, said he expects indictments in the mafia case within 10 days. These will, in his words, break up the largest gambling syndicate in history. The Air Force has uncovered apparent irregularities in operations of servicemen's clubs in Thailand, similar to those of the armies in Vietnam. The Pentagon said today the investigation involves allegations of kickbacks and other irregularities, and that the matter will be vigorously pursued. The Nixon administration today removed Dr. Herbert Lay, Jr. as head of the Food and Drug Administration. He was offered another job as assistant to the nation's top health officer, Dr. Roger Egeberg, but has not decided whether to take it. The shift follows friction between Lay and Welfare Secretary Finch over the FDA's performance in protecting the public from unsafe food and drugs. Dr. Charles Edwards, a former surgeon, was named to replace Lay. After the union's most bitter election battle since the 1920s, United Mine Workers President W.A. Tony Boyle claimed re-election today. His opponent, Joseph Jablonski, charged widespread vote stealing and indicated he might challenge the result in court. Many critics put the automobile near the top when they start listing the causes of air pollution. Today in Detroit, one of the big automakers announced what it sees as a breakthrough in dealing with the problem. Ike Pappas reports.
American big business has been under increasing attack for taking an indifferent attitude toward air pollution. Today, one of the biggest businesses in the world, the Ford Motor Company, announced it intended to do its part to help clean up the air. Henry Ford II detailed a 10-point program, including the development of what he called a pollution control kit for older Ford models.
The major obstacle to a quick and dramatic reduction in total automobile emissions in the United States is the fact that about 60 million older cars are in use on our highways, and they are not equipped with any kind of exhaust emission control. Many of these cars will continue in use for years to come. If every pre-1970 model car in the Los Angeles basin could be replaced immediately with a current model, hydrocarbon air pollution from automobile sources would fall below the level that prevailed in Los Angeles in the year 1940, and carbon monoxide emissions would fall below the year 1950 level. We are now conducting tests within Ford Motor Company on a limited scale of a used car air pollution control kit based on the experience we have had with devices used on our new cars. Preliminary indications are that we could sell this kit at a price that might permit installation at a cost to the owner of as low as $50, and that it will reduce hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide emissions from pre-1968 Ford-built cars by as much as 50%.
Basically, the idea is to take an older model Ford, one without any air pollution controls built into its engine, and fit it with a lately developed carburetor system, one that substantially cuts down on exhaust emissions in current models. But Ford also said it was experimenting with a completely new emission control system that it hopes to field test in a year or so. Other companies, such as Chrysler and General Motors, are said to be working on similar pollution control systems with an eye toward including them on models to appear in the early to mid-'70s. The cost for all this, said Ford, would have to be passed on to the buyer.
A third child died of diphtheria in Miami today. 5 others are reported suffering from the disease, which can be prevented by inoculation. And today, health authorities opened a drive against its spread. Prescott Robinson of WTVJ reports.
For 41,000 Dade County school children, the word diphtheria means literally a shot. An outbreak of 8 cases of the disease in 4 months has prompted county health officials to launch a massive inoculation program. 10,000 doses of vaccine were flown into South Florida early this week, and another 32,000 doses arrived from Philadelphia today. The 8 reported cases all developed in Miami's northwest side, so the inoculation program is being concentrated in northwest side schools. Dr. Milton Saslaw, acting director of Dade County's health department, was asked why the outbreak is being called an epidemic.
Medically, we consider any excess of an expected number to be an epidemic. In other words, since we have not had more than 3 cases in any one year since 1963, anything beyond the 3 would be considered an epidemic.
Dade County children aren't enjoying the inoculations, even though they're delivered with a jet injector gun. But health officials say the shots will prevent diphtheria. Prescott Robinson, WTVJ News, Miami.
About 15 black students took over the administration building at Akron State University today, but they left after Ohio Governor James Rhodes ordered 90 highway patrolmen to the campus and alerted 700 National Guardsmen to stand by duty. Rhodes declared, "We will not put up with it," as he ordered the patrolmen to use whatever force necessary to remove the students. The university has about 13,000 students. In Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania today, Judge Bernard Brominski refused a Massachusetts request for an autopsy on the body of Mary Jo Kopechne. She died in the automobile of Senator Edward Kennedy last July. The judge ruled that the facts showed Miss Kopechne drowned. Today's action clears the way for an inquest into her death. Senator Kennedy said he hoped authorities will now move forward so the matter can be concluded as soon as possible. The dead girl's parents, who had fought the autopsy petition, appeared at a news conference.
This means that I'll come up here very, very often to visit my daughter. I couldn't have faced coming back and going up to the cemetery, and I honestly mean this, I could never have gone up to that cemetery again if I'd known it had been disturbed. I'll be back.
Mr. Kopechne, do you feel now that this ruling justifies the statement made by Senator Kennedy regarding the accident?
Well, I feel our position has been vindicated, and I feel that Dr. Mills' examination now is, to me, as always did prove conclusive.
Are you satisfied with the Senator's explanation?
Well, yes.
Mrs. Kopechne?
Yes.
Honey, where's the new trash can?
You've got your foot in it, dear.
Trashy trash.
Man from Glad, family in heap of trouble.
Here's the answer, folks. New Glad trash bags. Use them as a liner to keep things neat. They're odor-proof, scatter-proof. So strong, they're leak-proof. Just tie them up.
That's neat.
It's the end of trashy trash. Try New Glad trash bags and Glad garbage bags.
Pat Hernan here at the Union Carbide Laboratories, where the big news in antifreeze is the new anti-leak formula for Prestone. Scientists have developed the one anti-leak formula good enough for Prestone, America's #1 brand. You can get the new anti-leak formula in the famous can or this new plastic handy jug. Now science makes Prestone protection better than ever. Get Prestone antifreeze with the new anti-leak formula.
Some of the principals in the case of the murder of actress Sharon Tate and 6 others made a court appearance in Los Angeles today. Jed Duval reports.
With a score of cameras pointing at them, 3 women of the Manson cult were led to court. Long-haired Susan Atkins, who poured out the Tate killing story step by step to the grand jury, was first through the door. Only Leslie Louise Houghton sought to turn her face away. The proceeding was brief. Court-appointed lawyers asked for and got delays in making their pleas. All 3 give a petite, demure appearance. None has a face or manner which suggests a killer. Miss Atkins' attorney has admitted that his client was there in the Tate home at that bloody midnight hour when strangers clad in black, carrying large knives and a gun, shot and stabbed 5 persons. The prosecution will say that this man, though not present that night, sent the slayers out. Charles Manson was brought into Los Angeles last night. The 35-year-old drifter, sometime musician, alleged car thief, persistent dropout from nearly everything he got into, will be arraigned tomorrow on murder conspiracy charges. Lawyers for at least 2 of the girls will argue that their clients were under Manson's hypnotic command. At today's hearing, Judge William Keene imposed a news blackout on all but rudimentary facts in the case, warning prosecutors and defense lawyers, witnesses, and police to keep silent about evidence and testimony. Los Angeles District Attorney Evel Younger, who challenged a similar ruling in the Sirhan case and lost, is considering challenging this ruling too. Jed Duval, CBS News, Los Angeles.
More than 500,000 miles in almost a month since they were last together, the Apollo 12 astronauts and their families are reunited in Houston tonight. Ed Rabel was there as the moon men left quarantine.
Pronounced moon germ-free, the Apollo 12 astronauts emerged from quarantine into bright sunshine, which bathed the facilities at NASA's Manned Spacecraft Center. The last 11 days of isolation they spent in what they call the LRL, the Lunar Receiving Laboratory.
It's not man-made. Well, you don't know how good that sun feels. That's 28 days, I think, isn't it, that we haven't had any sun? Want to say it's really great to get out. It's great to be back. The LRL really was quite pleasant. Gave us the opportunity to get most of our debriefing and pilot report done. And it's just real fine to be back and out. And I want to stand out in the sunshine and thank everybody that had anything to do with Apollo 12. They sure did their job well.
This may be the last Apollo crew to be quarantined, though a final decision won't be made until January. After visiting a few days with their families, they will go to the White House for dinner with the president. Ed Rabel, CBS News, Houston.
The UN General Assembly today approved a resolution sharply criticizing Israel for its treatment of Palestinian refugees. The resolution, which was passed by a vote of 48 to 22 with 47 abstentions, said that Israeli policy toward the refugees has created a grave situation in Arab territories now controlled by Israel. A military coup today overthrew the civilian government of the small West African Republic of Dahomey. Unconfirmed reports say the country's president, Emile Zinsou, was wounded when the rebels stormed the presidential palace. Leaders of the coup claim Zinsou is unhurt but is being held prisoner. Zinsou recently had incurred displeasure of the military because of an austerity program and severe budget cuts. And in Libya, that country's 3-month-old military junta claimed today that it had foiled an attempted coup last Sunday. Libya Radio announced that a group of army officers and government ministers have been arrested.
Beautiful woman, isn't she? Know what? She wears dentures, but she treats them like teeth. Because to her, her dentures are her teeth. She wouldn't soak her dentures. First of all, she wouldn't part with her teeth for that long. She brushes with denture cream. It's faster, easier than soaking, sure. But best of all, denture cream out-cleans a soak. I'll show you. We soaked that heavy lipstick stain. Soaked it all night in the leading tablet cleanser, and look. Even with soaking and vigorous brushing, that denture material is still stained. Now denture cream, the powerful toothpaste made for dentures. Denture cream scrubs, brushes, polishes dentures clean. Does it all 1, 2, 3. See? Denture cream does out-clean a soak. And it leaves your mouth toothpaste fresh. Are your dentures your teeth? Then treat them like teeth.
Most Americans will agree that, apparently due to automation and other technological advances, mail service in the United States is worse than ever. Most, but not all. There are some places in America where the mail service is as efficient as it was 40 years ago. Charles Carroll has the story.
While the billows nearly roll, while the tempest still is high.
Here on Cow Creek in McGoffin County, the postman doesn't ring twice. He doesn't even ring once. But nobody doubts when he's coming. That's Moses Walters, carrying the United States mail. Moses Walters rides a mule because a mule is the only conveyance that can be counted on to carry the mail and the mailman all the way to the end of Cow Creek. He sings because he just feels like singing. He's been riding a mule and singing 6 days a week since 1926. And the United States Post Office Department, which mostly rides around in red, white, and blue trucks, has long ago accustomed itself to the fact that on days when trucks are stuck in snowdrifts, the mail gets through on Cow Creek.
Safe into the haven guide.
Moses Walters' day starts early at the post office in Hager, Kentucky, where he ties his mail bags on his mule, Julie. He has had several mules, and they've all been named Julie. Moses Walters is a man of inflexible routine, and the fewer changes in his life, the better he likes it. We would tell you how old he is, but he wouldn't tell us. He is old enough, he says, to keep his nose out of other people's business. At 10 minutes after 11 a.m., he arrives at the post office in Stella, Kentucky, and carefully ties Julie to the same fence post. At Stella, he drops off some mail and picks up some more, part of it in cloth bags or pokes. How do you tell the pokes apart?
Just by the looks of them. Don't hang them on in order. So they should brand them, have their initials on them. I would believe that would be the requirement if it would be required, I would think. They're hard to. Now, this is a Reed poke out here, and this is Adams. And this is one of the Burton, it's Burton poke. This is Alsop poke.
Moses Walters would pause that long to talk, no longer. He carries more than pokes and packages. He carries a sense of mission. And he's not quite the anachronism you might think. We talked about that to Paul Smith, the rural delivery analyst of the regional post office.
Well, it comes as a surprise to me, and I think it will to most people, that there are still mule-back routes in the United States Postal Service. How many of them are there?
There are 21 now. This varies from time to time. In the spring, we look at the roads, and sometimes we take mule-back routes out, and then to find that we have to put them back again when fall comes.
Well, why do you have them at all?
Well, this is a communication system for all the people. At one time, all of our routes were mule-back or horseback routes. And as the roads improved and vehicle equipment became better, we took them out and put vehicles in. But still, there are some remote areas that we cannot serve the people with vehicles on a year-round basis, so we have to resort to mules.
I believe the time is coming for the Lord to come again. I believe the end is nearing every door.
The folks along Cow Creek wondered what in the world we wanted to take pictures of Moses for. For more than 40 years, they have seen him every day and heard the same hymns echoing behind him after he has passed. He is ordinary to them, so they have not stopped to consider that it takes a lot of people to make a country work, and that one of them might be an old man on a mule. Charles Kuralt, CBS News, Magoffin County, Kentucky.
Let us meet him with a shout, for he told us in his word to watch and pray.
And that's the way it is. Wednesday, December 10th, 1969. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.